I get anxiety if I know that my AI could be doing work for me, but it's just sitting idle right now. I'm like, whoa.
Meanwhile, I have a second personality that wants to become a farmer and just disappear from technology altogether.
I watched an AI video one time of a guy installing OpenClaw, and he's like a YouTuber or whatever. And the only task that he could think of that he can have OpenClaw do is to help him make more videos about OpenClaw, essentially.
You know, a lot of people have different opinions about Jetpack, but at the end of the day, the one thing you can't argue about Jetpack is its light switch features. Setting up a CDN is a pain in the ass. It's really tough. Welcome to Impressive Hosting, a podcast about the role hosting plays in shaping the open web. I am your host, Jesse Friedman. On this show, we go deeper than uptime and dashboards. We talk about hosting as infrastructure, about ownership, independence, and what it takes to build ethical, high-end WordPress hosting that actually serves creators, businesses, and the internet itself. Before we dive in, head to impressive.host. That's where you can comment on episodes, ask follow-up questions, and help shape future conversations. You'll also find links to follow, like, and subscribe wherever you listen. We are joined by Chris Coyier, the guy behind CodePen, behind CSS Tricks, a WordPress advocate for many, many years. We had a great first episode. We talked about a little bit of everything. And where we kind of left off with a little bit there was around AI and the use of it on CodePen. I'm curious, just jumping right back in here. Where do you see...
Yeah, that's right. I'm back, suckers. Here we go.
Chris, you got to come on like weekly. A lot of fun. But your typical CodePen user, is there a typical CodePen user? And what are they building? And you launched CodePen 2.0 so that they can put a domain on and launch what they're building right from there. But what is it you hope to see? What do you want to see customers doing with it?
That's an awesome question. You'd think I'd be all over that, I think I am to some degree, but like that idea
like
of
asking,
who's your exact customer? Like, you better know, right? Business boy, you better, like, how successful do you think you can be if you don't even know who your customer is exactly? I think I kind of know in that front-end developers are their own little community in a way. And I think if you came up in my generation, you'll probably know me because of CSS Tricks and the fact that I've spoken at a million things and I just tried to be as visible as I could to other front-end developers. There's plenty of like dark matter ones. Have you ever heard that term? I know now that we were in the break, we were talking about secret terms that nobody knows what they are. Apparently you have your own, but I've always liked the idea of dark matter developers, which are like people that are totally employed in the industry, but they're not attached to the community at all. They don't care.
Never heard that term, no.
No, they're not going to show up at a WordCamp. They work in WordPress. Huh. They just go home at night and they garden or whatever. And you're never going to hear from them, which is like good in a way and fine. Like, I don't know, maybe they're whatever, but I think there's like more of that than you think almost. So I don't mean to mean like, if you're a front-end developer, you know me, because I'm pretty sure there's plenty of dark matter front-end developers that just don't care or whatever. But then, the ones that do know me, by virtue of knowing me, you probably know my CodePen journey a little bit and that you've used CodePen because it is actually useful for all kinds of different weird little niche reasons. That one of them being like, I just need to show somebody some HTML and CSS for some reason, because we're talking about it at work, because I'm having a bug with it, because I have a client and they need to see it or whatever. I just need I need you to see this. And you can't do that in Slack. You can't do that on social media. There's not a great way to just send somebody some HTML, CSS, and JavaScript that renders so they can see it. CodePen is that. You get a URL. Right. It's called a pen. You type that crap in there and you send it to me. So if you ever need that, you ever needed it once, maybe you used CodePen to do it. And then once you've known that you can do that, maybe we have our little opportunity to be like, okay, does it need to be private though? Because if it needs to be private, meaning that it's not going to show up on search on CodePen and it's not going to be on your profile, we're trying to keep Google out of it if we possibly can. if it matters to that level, because whatever, your client is Nike or something and they'd be pissed if it wasn't, that's pro, that privacy feature. And just enough people like need that feature, or of the many other like dozen pro features we have, that some of them upgrade and then we get to have a business, and that's neat. So some of those are our like, maybe like quote unquote our real customers, or the ones that then need our pro features so that they have opened their wallet to us in a way. And it's nice to know, and it's nice to, it's like my job as a business to like make more of those people, because we're offering features that more people need. Like that's always the thing. Like, what feature can we add that will be so compelling to people? I feel like that must have been what your Jetpack days were like to some degree. Like, what could we add to this thing that will get people to just be like, all right, I'm going to do it,
Actually, Jetpack is interesting because what it was is an amalgamation of features that we were putting on WordPress.com that Matt wanted just to make available for free to the rest of the world. So you signed up at WordPress.com, you got all these great features. You wanted to host with someone else, like Bluehost or something. Well, you could take those features with you, and that was Jetpack.
Yeah, that's interesting. But it costed a few bucks, so eventually once it's broken off into its own thing, it's like, what else can we give you? But it probably still is primarily that, right? It's like better images, better search, all this stuff.
Funny thing is that a lot of people don't know this, but Jetpack actually costs Automattic a ton of money, and it's free. Like, for example, we have the Site Accelerator. It's a free CDN. It's a free CDN. Serves trillions of images.
That's right. Jetpack itself is free. Oh, and then even the image CDN part is free. Oh, geez.
Yeah. And why? Because we want WordPress websites to be faster. And Jetpacks, a lot of people have different opinions about Jetpack, but at the end of the day, the one thing you can't argue about Jetpack is its light switch features. Setting up a CDN is a pain in the ass. It's really tough. And if you have primarily just users who are just trying to get things done real quick, get out of web design and get back to running their business, setting up a CDN is not the first thing on their list. The great thing about Jetpack's features, you press a button and it just works. Like the CDN, it just works by pressing one toggle button. That's it.
Yeah. That's huge. To me, it was kind of like a non-negotiable, like it's not like a nice to have. Like if you're serious about your website, you must have it. So figure it out, and do you want a good one that's free? Yeah, sure. I'll have that. That'd be nice. Yeah, cool. So who are those customers? We do tend to catch people a little early in their coding journey at CodePen, because there's, people are reading some kind of tutorial or something about how to do something, and we catch them that way because there'll be some link to CodePen in there, and then they'll be like, oh, cool. You can, we can fork things on CodePen. So that's kind of nice too. Like then you have a copy and you can make changes to it and all that kind of stuff. Just one moment here. Your friend's going to be here in 4 minutes. You could stare at a wall. One thing you could do.
That's awesome.
Sorry, everybody. Yeah. She's off school today, so she's like, what do I do with my body?
Go to CodePen and code up a video game.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
She likes that. Unfortunately, I introduced her to vibe coding a little bit, and that's a little bit more fun because then you don't have to learn anything. You just type in what you want. She just types in I want to play a game where I'm a dragon and I'm climbing a mountain and I fight frost giants and I get a better sword and then I get to the top of the mountain and I have to fight a boss and whatever. She just writes it out. The damn thing just makes it,
I'm gonna do some voice to text and pump that right into a prompt and see what I get.
It's gonna work. As you will if it's Claude and it's Opus, it'll be good. That's where we're at now. It didn't used to be great. You're going to be impressed. I think.
Are you doing a lot with Claude Code in particular?
I just use it because I'm at a point where in our journey of building CodePen 2.0 that we have such a good code base that I think we're all proud of and is in a good spot. And I think one of the ways that AI shines in a tool like Claude Code is when it has a lot of guardrails and context and stuff. So we have like a good Claude code file and we have a well architected code base and we can articulate things that we need to happen or bugs that need to be fixed or something. And I'm very impressed at like how good and how much it can accelerate that process. So like at the moment, I'm feeling pretty pleased with our AI overlords. I'm being like, thank you. I needed some coding assistance with that. And you were extremely helpful in having me solve that and not have to like bug our whole staff to solve it and things like that. I think that's good. Yeah, I mean, everybody's got a million thoughts of it, but yeah, I use it and I like it.
What's funny is I used to write a lot of code back in the day. I would consider myself a front end developer, a little back end. But I was never an elite level world-class engineer or anything like that. And I just mentioned this in the last episode of this podcast where I feel like AI is sort of making me feel like a super coder, like I'm the developer that I always kind of envisioned I could be one day if I had focused primarily on development and didn't get into business and partnerships and all this other stuff.
Yeah, you're back.
It's just so, yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like now I can do anything. Like in the old days, I always wanted to develop an app because I hate to do apps. I can't stand, I've tried every single one of them and I want one that's made for me. And I always thought about maybe I'll save up enough money to hire a developer to just make it for me. But now I can just do it myself.
Oh, it'll be done in 20
not
minutes.
Myself, but
especially because but you can type in the stuff, right? Because you can clearly articulate what you want is what I'm picturing anyway. Like, you know what you want and you can write it with words and thus you can have what you want. Yeah, I can't imagine. You're like a perfect use case. I've found that your story is not unique. And people that are like, I used to code, but like when React came around or whatever, I was like, I'm out, like this just, it was too weird of a change or something like that. Or like, I made a few WordPress plugins, but just, it feels overwhelming now. So but that's okay. Cause you know enough that you can like, you have good taste, you have like a knowledge of what is generally kind of possible and what's a good idea. And you talk to so many people and stuff, man, I could see somebody like you just ripping out WordPress plugins or anything else, just feel like, I know exactly what I want and I can articulate it.
Yeah, well, you're not wrong. I think that, in the past we might joke around and say like, I know enough to get myself in trouble, but now it's like that same knowledge is enough to actually be really productive. You have the ability to know, like the biggest problem with this stuff is like knowing what you don't necessarily know. So like having a good wide net that you can cast over your knowledge and say that like I have, not very deep knowledge, all this stuff. Like I can't go and write like a JavaScript library on my own or something like that. But like, I know enough to know what is possible, what can happen. I know how, browsers communicate with clients. I know a lot of that stuff. And so like, I can articulate that to AI. And the other thing is a lot of it comes down to like the way in which you prompt, I mean, I'm sure you know this, but like the more you can speak the language of what it is that you want, even if you can't do it yourself, but you can articulate it.
Yeah, that's going to help.
More productive yourself. Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think there's a lot of differences between I have existing code and existing frameworks and existing choices that are providing a ton of context, and I need help evolving that. AI is exceptionally good at. It's also good and getting better at the one-shotty kind of stuff. I think one-shot is a good term to have in our toolbox a little bit, because it means like, I don't know, I have an idea for a WordPress plugin. I'm just going to write it down in like maybe just one paragraph or maybe 3 or 4 paragraphs. I don't know, depending on how articulate or, how much you need to explain about how you want this thing to behave.
Yeah.
Then you hit the button and you just get what you get. That's amazing because it had very little context, It probably, maybe just by virtue of saying WordPress plugin, that's like kind of a lot because it knows, hey, I know what APIs I'm going to need to use. I know that it's going to be in PHP. I know this stuff. But, like my daughter's thing with her wizard game, she didn't need to know anything, nothing at all.
Yeah. Right. It's absolutely amazing. So what are folks you're seeing Oh, you're going to say something, or
No, I just
you're seeing?
did we finish that kind of? But I do think, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
Mm.
I don't know if I
Well,
have
we were talking
anything.
about like the ideal, or the type of customer that you want to see on CodePen, and I think that the reason, at least in my head, that question felt a little loaded was because of the fact that it's like what do you want kids to do on a playground, right? Like, it's not that you necessarily want them to do everything the exact way that the slide was designed this way, so you have to. No, like, if you want to go down face first, it's on you, man. Like, you can do that. Like, I feel like CodePen's kind of like that. You're giving people the tools to be able to kind of experiment and do a lot of fun and interesting things, and you don't necessarily know what's going to come next. Like, people can do a lot of different things with it.
That's a
I'm
fun
curious though.
metaphor. I'll probably steal that. I like that. Like yeah.
Go
I'm
for it.
watching
It's
kids.
all yours.
They climb up slides more than they slide down them. I feel like.
That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, if you try to regulate how kids use a playground, you're just gonna frustrate everybody. But if you just create things
Yeah.
that people can use any way they want to, it's gonna be a lot better. But what about like are people building things and like creating like is there like a marketplace where people can like sell their code or sell snippets? Like, if I want like a really sexy mega menu or something like that, could I design that and put it on CodePen, and or is it all
Well,
open
no.
source?
I've
Like, how does
thought
that
about. I've
work?
prototyped that kind of thing. I feel like
Yeah.
front end is especially hard to do that with. I don't know. I've hesitated to become a marketplace, I guess, because then
Yeah.
it's just a different business model. I think you're more,
Right.
then I don't know. It's hard to protect that code, and then what do you do with all the zillions of bad actors who just steal other people's code and try to sell it then, or whatever?
Yeah.
Just a second here. I think you should go outside because they'll be here in any minute. Just look down the street. They'll turn down any minute. So interestingly, there's no AI on CodePen yet, and we're super interested in making that happen some moment, but kind of slow boating it, because I don't know, it's almost like the longer you wait, the more you learn about what a good implementation might be like and what user expectations are. The early days of AI coding was very much just autocomplete. We lived with that for, I don't know, a couple of years at least. It was like that kind of ghost text experience of like, what do you expect the rest of this line of code to be like? And that got so good that we were like, wow, this is incredibly predictive and amazing. And then it started to be like, wow, it's starting to like predict like 3 lines of code or more, big chunks. And it's still kind of good, And I think right now everybody's pretty much graduated into like, no, there's a sidebar and you talk to it,
Yeah. Right.
And then it's affecting lots of files, because that's really, turns out that's actually more like what I want. But people do it in different ways. I still work with some developers who barely use it at all, and they just have ChatGPT. It's totally separate from their code base, and they're asking it questions like conceptually to help think through, but all the coding is their own. And that kind of thing. And then I know some developers who can't even be bothered to look at the code at all. That, I know that there's an app, Cursor, that ships started out as like a VS Code fork, and cool, you get your little way to talk to it in a sidebar, and it does a great job. There's various ways you can interact with it. You still get the autocomplete, but you get the sidebar too, and you can also highlight code to have it refactor. It's trying to give you lots of ways to interact with AI and your code. But it recently has also shipped and this is more and more common, just like an agent mode where looking at and dealing with the code is downplayed. It's more about how many agents can I get to work across how many code bases. You're like trying to put AI to work more than just like, I'm working on one task and I'm working with one agent to help me with one part of the website. That's changing. I would think a year from now, what and AI companies are incentivized to do this, because now we're just ripping through our tokens, needing higher plans and whatever else. I'm sure they're incentivized to get us to use AI for whatever we can. That there's like this idea that we're just orchestrators, that maybe we look at code less and less. We ask and we talk, and AI dings over here because it's done, and then you evaluate its work in some way and tell it to move on to the next task, and then another one dings over here, and really you're just this conductor of agents. Maybe it will be like that. I don't know. It's just, it stands to reason to me because of the little steps we've taken to do more and more and more and more and more with it.
I think you're 100% right. So one of the things that I keep battling back and forth with is this idea of whether or not agentic AI has a place in my life in terms of the areas where I want to be artistic. Like, I feel like I've been writing a lot lately. I really enjoy writing. Do I want AI playing a role in my writing? Or if I'm doing photography, right? I whipped out an old film camera my dad had when he was a photojournalist for a New York newspaper. I found that camera and I started using it again. But like, do I want AI to adjust the light levels and change things? And, I'm feeling pretty strongly that I don't want those things. But what I do want AI to do is act as like, if I have a staff of people who work under me. I used to watch West Wing, and one of the favorite things about West Wing was this idealization of like having a chief of staff and having a bunch of people working for you, and that like everybody's just bringing you things and all you have to do is approve or delegate or whatever, right? And you think about like speech writing, for example, like a president doesn't necessarily write every single word of a speech, but he's in charge of the vision. He's in charge of the message and the narrative and making sure that he's going to put his name on it and he's going to be actually saying the words, but somebody else is doing the work of writing that speech, And so like, I feel like AI can act very much like that. And you just mentioned like, we're a bunch of orchestrators. I actually just this week started playing with Paperclip and another tool called Multica, which is, they're basically local client software that manages multiple agents for you. And then you can basically route tasks to them and assign them tasks very similarly to the way in which you would assign a task in like Asana or Trello or something like that. So you just say like, I need you to give me my morning brief and assign it like this agent, that task every morning at a certain time, and it recurs. And then it does all this stuff and it can reach out to other agents and can answer these questions. Anyways, to circle back to what you were talking about, I think that one thing that's really interesting is this idea that we're going to be able to bring our agents with us. Like, WordPress was about to go down a road where, do we put AI directly into WordPress core? But what they ended up doing was building an abilities API. And now with the real-time user interface, we envision agents kind of acting as users inside your WordPress, but that you can bring your agents with you, right? So that it's the same agent who knows you. It has its memory of you. You can build skills, and then you can take it and put it into your WordPress website. Or the same thing maybe in the future, if you ever adopt it into CodePen, like the same thing, like your same coding buddy that sits and vibes with you on Cursor could also be the same one that jumps into CodePen.
Yeah, I like that.
And write
that's
stuff
cool.
there.
I hadn't quite thought of that. I've thought of it in the sense that that's what Apple promised us at one time and then never gave us. And now has class action lawsuits
Siri was
against
going to
them
be
about
everywhere.
or whatever. Because Apple knows a ton of stuff about you. It has every picture you've ever taken, and maybe it has access to emails you've written, whatever. But if you're pretty deep in the Apple ecosystem, like I unabashedly am, theoretically nobody knows more about you, or at least has access to more about you than Apple does. And it was like, that's great. Then it'll, I could wake up in the morning to be like, I put together this chill playlist of songs that you might like, or something, or I don't know, like maybe it could be a little bit more proactive with what it knows about me based on my actions or whatever. It'd be like, it's Tuesday, so you're probably going to drive over to the school about 7:30. Maybe you want these cool cover songs to listen to. I made a playlist that's the exact length of how long it takes you to drive there or something. I thought I always kind of wanted it just to be more like your buddy or something, to be proactive in some way and know something about you. But I like your thinking there about how maybe that's true all the time, that it's this agent buddy that follows you, whether you're asking it to do some WordPress crap for you or develop on some other website, or be the same one that you do all the cliche ones. Go, find the cheapest flight to Anchorage or whatever.
Yeah.
That same one could be the same thing. Yeah, maybe. That's fun. I like thinking about that stuff. I think people get a little nervous, so maybe I'll just say this to people that that we're, sometimes I talk to AI people and I'm like, what are you talking about? And like, it seems like they're walking down the street issuing, like just chatting with their agents and stuff. I don't do any of that. I'd like to say you're not terribly behind if you don't have 10 agents doing work for you at 24 hours a day. Don't feel weird about that. I think they're weird.
Yeah.
That's weird.
You don't have that, what's that called? Plaid or whatever, where it's like a microphone that sits on your shirt and it records it transcribes every word that's said.
No, thanks.
Yeah, I'm not quite there myself.
My world. Did that come across yours in the last month or two? OpenClaw.
Oh yeah,
OpenClaw. Sure. That was the one that people are like, I talked to it through my Discord or my WhatsApp or whatever, and I got it doing 250 things for me at all times. You know, you're like, I can barely keep one agent busy, and I don't, you know, and the people that are like, I get anxiety if I know that my AI could be doing work for me, but it's just sitting idle right now. I'm like, whoa.
Well, I think there's this like momentum that's happening, this current that's pushing us all along with AI, and that you see all these things that are happening. Like, I don't know how, but I don't even go on social media that often. But when I do, you know, on my Instagram feed, it used to be like mostly like my daughter and wife stuff that they shared with me, and that was my feed. But somehow I clicked on enough AI stuff that my feed is now just pure AI stuff. And all I'm watching is all these things that people are building. And it does I have to admit, it does give me a little anxiety. Like I'm missing out. Like I have a little FOMO. I'm like, wow, you guys are building some really cool stuff. Meanwhile, I have a second personality that wants to become a farmer and just disappear from technology altogether.
Sure.
You know, and just
I get the most
write it all up
by it when it's like, I watched an AI video one time of a guy installing OpenClaw, and he's like a YouTuber or whatever. And the only task that he could think of that he can have OpenClaw do is to help him make more videos about OpenClaw, essentially. And I was like, yo, this just, it just was so,
bit of a meta
I don't know. So, yeah, like not whatever. I'm sure you're a decent guy or smart or interesting or whatever, but I'm like, you need to that's not what productivity is. Like if you can't even think, if you can think of nothing that isn't like Ouroboros shit about what you're already doing, that's not good enough, you know? Like I don't.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think maybe this can and will evolve and stuff. I think it's like, it's fair to say that we're perhaps a little behind in CodePen on some of these features, but certainly we're thinking about it from a perspective of like, because this has happened to us before where we get, you know, other companies have jumped ahead a little bit, and then it's our opportunity to kind of leapfrog back. Like we could just copy what you're doing too, but I'd rather think of it from scratch. Like what could we do that's extra, that's just more extra interesting to me, that's of higher value. And I see little examples like that sometimes. I'm like, ooh, this company really nailed it with like the value that they're giving people. That's not just like, oh, we'll add a prompt too, and then you type in the prompt and then stuff comes back. I'm like, yeah, that's useful. We probably do need that at some point, but I do want to think a little deeper about it. I love your idea. I don't know if we'll do this, but the idea that it's your agent buddy on CodePen and it knows more about you based on what you've done before. It's not every time it's a completely fresh context. Maybe it's highly informed by your existence on CodePen. I don't know. Maybe that's cool.
Well, the good thing about that methodology though is that you're building bridges and not islands, right? Like if you decide to go all in on Claude or OpenAI, who the heck knows what's going to be in the next 3 months, right? Like it seems like this stuff is evolving so fast that if you double down on a single technology, it feels like a bad bet. But if you end up building bridges where just anybody can port anything that they want and make it all integrate the way that they feel is best, then you're able to focus on your tech and just let anybody else kind of bolt on what it is that's interesting to them.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah. Anyway, we'll get there. Also, it's so interesting. We deal with web browsers. We're web people, right? It's interesting to see browsers themselves get interested in this kind of thing. You can be like, oh, you know what? Claude is so good. I mean, they're all kind of good, but I think a lot of people on the web are impressed specifically with Claude because it's just, I don't know, they seem to be the web for
It has a very high
one or
success
something.
rate when you ask it to
Yeah.
do something. It's
Yeah, Claude's just good, But let's say you price it out. Like you want to make a company, you're going to make a WordPress plugin that does some crap with AI, and you're going to just use Claude to do it. I think a lot of people, I don't know if everybody realized just how freaking expensive it is. It's going to be pricey. If your plan is to use good Anthropic models, that's your plan for your AI company, you better be have some insane value that you're delivering so you can charge hundreds of dollars a month or something, which is going to be hard for you to do in this day and age. Otherwise, you're in a different position. Otherwise, you got to be like ready to burn money, or you're looking at not using their models.
There's apps out there that help you and understand the cost of tokens and how many, what kind of input and output, how many tokens it uses. And that number you can fly off the shelves. And the thing is too, is that you can do it accidentally. Like it's a good thing they put in all these limits, because you can make a request of something, upload a bunch of files, and all of a sudden you've got, you've burned through your whole budget.
Yeah.
Like super quick. But listen, we're getting to the end of this episode. Before we go, I'm going to ask you a question that people have been asking me, and I don't have a good answer for it. I am really excited about something. I'm working on something at Automatic. So right now, Matt has instituted this thing called Radical Speed Month. He's basically wiped out our org chart and told us all to pair up with whoever we want, build something awesome for the next 30 days. That's what we're doing.
30 days?
And we got 30 days, which 30 days is actually a long time these days. But one of the things that, I'm looking at is like, what is the next evolution of websites? And so one of the things I'm playing with in this Radical Speed Month is this idea of a live real-time personalization engine, something that can change the existence of the content and the design and the graphical elements of a website in real time.
Oh,
I don't. So like you arrive at a website and you give it a prompt, you give it an answer, you click a button, whatever, and it learns your intent, learns your motivation. Maybe the website starts changing around you. Instead of hunting and pecking around and being encyclopedic, like a website typically is, where you need to index everything and then know what you're looking for and go find it. Maybe it can just bring everything to you as you need it. But I'm curious, what do you think?
I like that you're thinking
the next
that
evolution
weirdly.
of websites are.
Because I think it needs somebody that's weird, that like it's not going to be what you think it is, or it's not going to be terribly obvious what that answer is. And so
I like
it needs
weird
thinkers like you. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it's a wonderful question. What can a website do in the future? Like what will it do 5 years from now? Because I think 5 years is like always a fun one. That's a number that you threw out earlier that I think is a fascinating one to think about, because it's very hard to guess 1 year from now. So you definitely can't guess like 10, because it's like, give me a break. You'll never know. Like we could be all living on Mars, or who knows? Probably not, but you never know. It's just things go crazy. And especially when it comes to this AI stuff, it's never has anything moved this fast. It's wild.
Right.
So it's very hard to guess, but it's like, it's just so smart. Like, what could it do? And in a way, is that really good for a company like CodePen? Could it be that the fact that coding becomes almost this like trivially easy thing to do, that people then still need to like share it and collaborate on it, and they still want their hearts and likes and comments, and they still need hosting for it, and they need all this stuff? Or does even that go away somehow? Like, do we need less websites because this stuff is so good? I'm kind of just hoping and banking on, and I'm okay with like putting my investments where I think the web's going to be bigger and better, not smaller.
Right.
It could go either way, but I'd rather think of the fun outcome, and it seems to be that kind of way. I've talked to some other SaaS companies that provide like data hosting or things like that, and they're seeing growth. Are you comfortable with talking about that? Are you seeing growth in WordPress hosting needs in the AI world, or not? Or do you not want to?
In the AI world specifically?
Well, not in
Well,
the
I
AI
mean,
world specifically. I mean, just are there more websites? Are people still making as many websites as there were, and they're buying hosting at the same rate, at least, as they have been?
yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. I think that the entire open web market has seen a shift. And we talked about this previously, right? Like closed platforms, services, social media is definitely taking its toll. But at the end of the day, at least right now, I think that it's for sure true that people still need a website. Do I think that's going to be true in 3 months, 6 months, 5 years? I
Yeah.
don't know. I get nervous. I get really nervous about things like Instagram. Like Instagram creates an environment where it makes it very, very easy to get yourself up there, get some content up there. And then all of a sudden, people don't necessarily feel the need to own a website. But the reality of the problem there is that they don't necessarily own their connection to their users either. So
I
that,
know.
it
That's the
all
perfect
disappear
example.
overnight.
It really is, Jesse, because a restaurant can easily be like, Instagram's so easy, though. I post my little crap that we're doing special corn dogs, and then everybody knows we're doing special corn dogs, and they freaking show up. And all I needed to do was like post a little graphic or something. That's way easier than a website. And they're right. It is.
Yeah.
And it's very risky. And all that can go away overnight. And you don't have to do one or the other. You can do both. And Instagram doesn't help you with Google Maps. And, it's like there's a lot going on there.
Yeah. But here's the thing, and this is what gives me a lot of hope. If you look at Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, whatever, right? It's all information being pushed to you. An algorithm elsewhere decides what you're going to get, and it pushes it all to you. What I think is really interesting for us, at least in the near future, is this idea that we could have AI act as a pulling agent. So right now, you go to Instagram, it pushes this content in front of you. You're an Apple user, so I don't know what's on Apple. I'm sure there's like news feeds and stuff like that. But on Android, you swipe to the left and you get the Google feed where it basically pushes you articles, blog posts, YouTube videos, whatever. All of this stuff is being forced into your world. But with AI, what could become really interesting is like an AI-powered reader where instead of it having information that's pushed to you from some big platform that has decided what you should see, the AI who really does know you could be reaching out into the world and pulling what you actually care about back into your world.
Well,
and I think
which is nice, but that's also just a single platform. Then now you're not visiting those websites to get that information,
but
which
then,
has
but
its
then
own
you
cost.
control that algorithm. That's the thing is like the benefit there would be that like you would actually have more control over the content. And the really cool thing would be that instead of all this stuff living on these siloed platforms like Instagram, the need for a website would actually exist even more because these AI agents would need to know where to, like they would need to go out into the world to get it. So like the open web might actually have a large resurgence in the way in which AI absorbs content.
Wow,
instead of it all.
Pray for that. I want that.
Yeah, well, I mean, you and I, we're the people who can, maybe we can shape it. Maybe we can actually make it happen. Who knows?
Maybe. I mean, it'd be good for a lot of people, I think. I was going to say that when I was talking to the guy who was a guy that did like a data storage cloud company kind of thing, wasn't seeing reduced growth. He was seeing great growth, which I find interesting because you're like, but like there's a world in which that, I don't know, you need them a little less because I don't know, AI is just crapping out code. It's just good at that kind of thing. Like maybe you don't need, the storage there because you can just do it wherever else you're coding. I don't know. I don't know what it was exactly. But it kind of made sense to me too, that AI is like producing this code for you, but you still need to do something with it. It still needs to go somewhere. You still need services to kind of help you with that. And ultimately, a lot of times, all that code is bound for the web. So the web is just bigger, happier, and healthier than ever, and I like it.
I love it.
Yeah, that's cool. Gosh, we hardly talk. There's just a million more things to talk about, but that's okay, Jesse.
And at the end of the day, we're at the end of the episode, man. So we gotta take another break. So listen, I would love to have you back on though. I mean, you're such a pro at podcasts. I feel like you're on something every other week. You got another thing going on, and you got this big release for CodePen, which I'm very happy for you. I can't wait to see what comes from that.
But yeah, likewise, But yeah, keep getting more voices on here. So somebody's going to get it right. And we'll be like, see, I had them on the podcast before they were famous. I don't know.
You may be right. All All right, man. Well, thanks so much for joining. It was great having you.
Yeah, likewise. See you around, Justin.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Impressive Hosting, where we uncover the core tenets of great WordPress hosting. Finally, do check out our list of open source projects that need support at impressive.host. Whether it's code, community, or cache, you can make a difference. See you next time.